Last night, though, the New Orleans Saints down 20-3. Everything looks like it's over. You're throwing picks. You're giving up easy touchdowns. You can't move the ball consistently. It was a dark spot. It was a dark spot. And when you look at the season as a whole, as I talked about earlier, there are certain wins that can either be the catalyst for you to completely crumble or be the catalyst for you to go on to do big things. And when you look at the crossroads that the Saints are in right now, heading into a bye week, kind of struggling recently, but managing to stay afloat, missing your best player in Mike Thomas, missing a ton of players last week. The rest of the division improving and getting better. It looked like you were at a bit of a crossroads here, and had you lost this game, that would have been a terrible feeling over the next 2 weeks. It could have potentially been that catalyst for destruction. Because let's be clear, I still have major questions about this Saints team. I love how the defensive line played last night. I still have concerns about that secondary. I mean, you heard Nick Underhill there. It's so crazy that you come out of a camp where the secondary felt like the strength, the safeties felt like the strength, and they've been anything but. In fact, they may be the weakness thus far. I think a little bit that is tied into the eternal camp paradox, which is when one side of the ball is doing really well, is that an indictment of the other, or should you celebrate that side? I do see that, the Saints offense was probably not threatening the Saints defense during camp in a lot of the ways that Justin Herbert could threaten them last night. Just talking about putting that ball deep. I mean, way over the top. And so this is the Saints defense that's continuing to find itself. The return of Marcus Davenport, I thought, was massive. And so now, though, although you have all these problems, you go into this bye week 3-2. You're one up on Tampa Bay in the head-to-head there. You got the Panthers coming up next, so you could directly take the lead there and go one up in that series as well. So this season, even with all the bad, even losing Mike Thomas, falling to 1-2, despite it all, you're now sitting here in a pretty good spot through 5 weeks heading into the bye. And so last night at 20-3, it did not look like that. And, you had to have some luck, and that's all well and good, but I'll take a little luck. And right now you have a division where you have 3-2 teams, and the Bucks. How about this? So I was thinking about quarterback play in the NFL, and you look at the NFC South right now. You obviously got Tom Brady, you got Drew Brees, you got Matt Ryan for whatever that's worth this year, and you got Teddy Bridgewater. Is that the best group of quarterbacks in the entire NFL when it comes to division? I went through the list. Most divisions have a glaring weakness. While the NFC South may be geriatric, they don't have a glaring weakness. I think the one division that may challenge them would be the AFC North. What do you think?
What about the NFC West? Wilson, Goff, Murray.
I thought about them. I mean, I guess Wilson really does. Okay, would you take Teddy Bridgewater or Jared Goff?
Bridgewater.
I would take Bridgewater.
Okay, so I don't know.
Maybe I'm being disrespectful to Goff there.
I think that's a finer line than y'all answered very quickly. I mean, I know Goff hasn't been great, but when he's clicking and when that offense is clicking, I mean, he's shown he can help take them to a Super Bowl.
Maybe. I mean, I'm dismissing 2 Super Bowl quarterbacks. So I'm also dismissing Jimmy Garoppolo in this. And maybe that's because
he got benched. He got benched on Sunday.
What they said was because he was still hurt, but he was playing terrible on Sunday. So maybe I'm being a bit of a slave to the moment.
Hurt.
The West, you're right. The West definitely belongs in the conversation. But even with Kyler Murray, right? It's like, it's very good. It's very exciting. I don't know. They're 3-2, so whatever. Yeah, you're right. Okay, the West is up there. I think the winner, though, my winner, I still think maybe the AFC North. I mean, the reemergence of Big Ben. He looks great right now. Steelers are the Steelers are, 4-0 for the first time since 1979.
That's not overly surprising to me, actually, I don't think.
Given all the success they've had, they've never started 4-0.
It's hard to start 4-0 in the NFL.
It's fair. So you got Big Ben in the Steelers, and you got Lamar Jackson, you got Baker Mayfield, you got Joe Burrow. It's a pretty good group.
That is a good group. I mean, Baker maybe kind of falls into that same category though as Murray.
Would you take Goff? Okay, so no, I think Baker falls into the Bridgewater Goff category. Okay. Are you taking Bridgewater or Baker or Goff or out of those 3? You're taking Bridgewater of those three, Danny. I think are you letting your Saints fan,
I think
your
a little
Saints
bit.
brain infect you a bit here?
No, I mean Baker Mayfield. Like I feel like he's too inconsistent. I feel like he has one really good game and then like next is just awful.
I mean, I will say this. So yeah, you know what? I agree with you, Danny. Like Baker Mayfield will lose you games. Teddy Bridgewater will rarely lose you games.
All he does is win. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, you're kind of okay. You're talking me into it, Danny. Hell yeah, I would take Bridgewater over Baker, and I'll stand by my take that I will take him over Jared Goff as well.
I'm gonna take Jared Goff over both of them.
Goff's tough. I mean, Goff has the most natural arm talent. Goff's tough though, just because like we take away all of Goff's success because we say it's all Sean McVay. And really, it's probably a mixture of the two, but Sean McVay definitely plays a big role. Okay, we kind of got distracted. That's my bad, but it's kind of an interesting where he's. Let's talk about the game last night. I've talked about it so much. I'll let y'all start. What stood out to you most in last night's Saints win? Could be anything.
It was strange to see them start slow just because of kind of how it happened, maybe. And their offense had seemed like it had found a rhythm the past couple of games. And then when they came out so sluggish on offense, it felt like the first 2 weeks of the season again.
Yeah, it did.
They weren't, there was no rhythm. It looked like they were trying to be balanced between the run and the pass, but they just weren't really succeeding. They weren't spreading the ball around. They kept putting Taysom Hill in when he had no business being on the field in those situations. And then their defense continued to struggle in the red zone, which they have to fix.
Yeah, I mean, they're terrible.
You've got to fix that. I mean, after the Chargers got to 20 points, they didn't score again until the last drive. The drive that tied the game to send it to overtime.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, no, so the defense
But
ended up getting it right.
you kept them out of the red zone,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
You can't bank on that every week that, for 2/3 of the game, we're just going to keep the team out of the red zone because that's just not how it works.
No, like the Saints
NFL.
defense is not bend but don't break. The Saints defense right now is if you bend, it will break.
It will break. And once they get to the 20, it's 7. It's not 3, it's 7.
A lot of times they'll hold strong midfield, but if you get in that red zone, isn't it like 93%?
It was 82
rate?
prior to last night.
Okay.
They were 3 for 3 on touchdowns in the red zone.
Oh, wow.
So
it's bad. I mean, it's mid 80%. Yeah.
You had those two issues. That's why you were down. But because you didn't have the other issues that had really been plaguing you, the penalties, things like that, you were able to climb back into the game. So that is maybe a step in the right direction for the Saints. Although it looked sloppy, I thought it was maybe one of their better games all year.
Well, I mean, anytime you have a 17-point comeback, I'm going to give you a lot of credit for that. I mean, Drew Brees has played thousands of football games, and they said, this was his second time in his career ever overcoming that sort of deficit?
He did conveniently point out in his postgame, though, that 2011 49ers, they were down 17. They should have won that. And the Minneapolis Miracle, they were down 17.
Exactly.
And he said, we probably should have won that.
So that just shows, though, how tough it is, right? I mean, even in those games where you had it in hand, you end up getting screwed over. Danny, what was your big takeaway last night?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't get Alvin Kamara more involved in the beginning. It seemed like it was lacking that. But my big takeaway was Emmanuel Sanders. The dude balled out. He completely balled out. And going forward, I think him and Michael Thomas are just going to make that offense a big threat.
It is becoming abundantly clear that that all Emmanuel Sanders and Drew Brees needed was more time on task. They didn't get like the summer camps that they normally do where they spend time getting all the rhythm down. You see the trust there now. I love the fact that Jared Cook, although I'm accepting that Jared Cook's never going to be the high volume guy that maybe the end of last year led me to believe he would be, he can still be a threat and can still be a big play guy. And you saw that last night, which talk about how great was that with it almost felt like a pool shark or something last night, right? Where you're playing really poorly and you're kind of looking very vulnerable and you get somebody to start to believe that you suck. They challenge you, you put some money on, and all of a sudden, I mean, you come out of nowhere. That's how that deep ball felt for Drew Brees last night. You lull him to sleep. He can't throw it deep. He can't do this and that. And then you saw him cock it, flip the hips, and hit Jared Cook when he needed it most. So you're right, Danny. Emmanuel Sanders' emergence was huge.
And for me, that's somebody they have to get more involved.
Who, Cook?
Is 87 Cook. I mean, he's got that ability right there that you just saw to beat you deep, when it's right. And he also can be a good possession receiver for you, too. It just feels like Drew. Think of how dynamic the Saints offense became at the end of last season when Drew Brees and Jared Cook figured it out, when they got their chemistry down. That's a target he needs in that offense. Drew has always had great success with the tight end, and it's just, for some reason, it struggled to emerge with Cook until late in the season, or, I mean, obviously there's still time here, but that's just somebody you want to see them get more involved.
And again, maybe look, I firmly believe that you cannot overstate the importance of the Mike Thomas return. He will fix everything. He makes up for Drew Brees' lack of arm strength by dominating in the areas in which Brees can get him the ball. And so if he's working even those shorter areas, you're seeing Emmanuel Sanders have a ton of success in deeper areas over the field. That's only going to get better. You're having to commit to guard Thomas. Okay, all of a sudden, then Jared Cook's more open. And then how much did we forget how good a healthy Alvin Kamara is? I mean, even last night's performance, which I love in a way, because it wasn't gaudy. He didn't have a 70-yard touchdown run. Now he had the incredible catch at the end. Like I love, we'll go through it. One of my favorite parts was seeing the best players make the biggest plays when you needed them to. But last night for Kamara to me was very workman-like, right? It just shows you that on a night where he's not dominating or getting in chunks, he can still be successful. I mean, he finished with 11 carries for 45 yards, 8 catches for 74 yards, including that long 30-yarder. So basically, on a night where he didn't find the end zone multiple times and he didn't feel like he had the biggest impact, he's so good that he still gave you over 100 combined yards and 19 touches.
His longest run was only 10 yards.
And again, it's like we talked about with Jamar Chase, right? You imagine Jamar Chase in this LSU offense and how much even better like Terrace Marshall could be and every other, Arik Gilbert, all these other guys. When Mike Thomas, like unlike Jamar Chase, Mike Thomas is coming back. And then so the success you're seeing out of Sanders, 12 catches, 122 last night, that improves. Success you're seeing out of Kamara, that opens up more. And then I think you really see that Saints offense. And then hopefully the defense found something last night, because I really liked what I saw out of Marcus Davenport. You see that the dude's just a physical freak. Now, hopefully he stays available. But if he does, the Saints will be able to get pressure with 4. I mean, Sheldon Rankins had a sack from the interior last night, which I love because that's just going to help out the guys on the edge. So now you got Rankins. Onyemata's been good this year. Trey Henderson, what is he up to now? Is it 4.5 sacks?
I believe that sounds right.
Yeah, I think it's 4.5.
Dude, let's go. Trey Hendrickson, the double-digit sack dream is thriving.
He leads the team in tackles for loss and quarterback pressures and sacks.
4.5 sacks for Trey Hendrickson.
And it was even really good, I think, seeing Cam Jordan get back there a few times last night as well. I think he notched half a sack when Herbert fumbled that ball. I don't know how he caught it when he got double hit, and it's like he's in the air, the ball's flying around. So I really enjoyed what I saw of the Saints defensive line. They were also excellent against the run. I think Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead did a fantastic job against the Chargers defensive ends. I mean, Bosa and Ingram, those are guys who can kill you, and they got theirs, but it wasn't like, it wasn't game-breaking. And look, one other thing that we and then we'll go to break. I'm very impressed with Justin Herbert. How could you not be?
Yeah, man.
It's crazy. And it's the same thing with Josh Allen.
I didn't see it coming.
Now it's taking way longer with Josh Allen, but it's just like, I don't get, and whatever. Of course I don't, because this is what people get paid millions of dollars to do, and they still don't get it. I just don't get why some people hit and why others don't. Like, I saw nothing out of Justin Herbert out of Oregon that I found terribly impressive. Not bad. I mean, he has great natural size and athleticism, but nothing that blew me away. And then even on Hard Knocks, I don't know if I was judging him. I thought he was soft. Like, I thought he didn't look that good. And then he is just bald, dude, and he has a cannon. Look, I know size isn't everything, but when I see Herbert's arm, I'm just like, it's so big. I mean, wow.
He looks so comfortable in the Chargers offense. He looks more comfortable in the Chargers offense than he did at Oregon. I mean, honestly, he looked soft at Oregon. He looked uncomfortable at Oregon.
And that's the thing. He's not soft. He was getting lit up last night, dude, and he was fine. We've seen him truck guys. By the way, he's also massive.
He looks like a totally different player in his first 4 games in the NFL than he did in college.
Yeah, no, he is massive. He is just a giant back there. So
you should have a drop-off. He's ascended from college to the NFL.
And the interesting thing about the Chargers, I feel for them, and we'll talk to Jake about this, but they feel so close. I mean, 1-4, and all 4 losses are 1 possession or less. That's, they're probably the team in the NFL that is most better than what their record says, right? Would you agree? I mean, we'll go down the list. We could try to find someone else, but off the top of my head, I think you're going to be hard-pressed because they've taken a lot of good teams to the rope, should have beaten a lot of good teams and just haven't found a way to close them out. The Chiefs on the ropes. They had Tampa Bay on the ropes. They had the Saints on the ropes. They just couldn't finish them out. So I hope Lynn sticks around because I still think he's a really good head coach, and that's someone who I came away from Hard Knocks loving. All right. When we get back, we'll talk about the biggest players making the biggest plays. Like we said, look at tonight's Bills-Titans game. And unfortunately, a little blurb on Texas A&M and what looks like a pretty easy path to the playoff, potentially. This is OTBOT here on 104.5 ESPN.